Good morning. You are watching Issues at Hand on Church of Uganda Family TV. Issues at Hand is proudly brought to you by Protea Hotel Entebbe. Yes, the Christmas season is here. We are just so close. 12 days to go indeed. By the way, 12 days you might think it's so far, but do you know that Christmas is next week on Sunday? So very close indeed. So you want to make your reservation and your booking today, because if you want to enjoy a nice time with your family during Christmas, Protea Hotel Entebbe is the place for you. You can relax by the waterside, by the poolside, and you can get yourself a nice refreshing time to meditate and to be with family. Now here on Church of Uganda Family TV and on Issues at Hand, we are very, very critical when it comes to family, and especially when it comes to the rights of persons. Now on today, well, my name is Bruno Edgard, if you didn't know, and today on Issues at Hand we are talking about the plight of persons living with albinism, and we are going to specifically talk about many issues, with our key concern being on the National Action Plan that was launched when it comes to projecting and protecting the rights of persons living with albinism. And my guest for today to talk about these critical issues, I have Mr. Paul Birungi, who is the administrator of Albinism Umbrella, and with him he is joined by Miss Phiona Nantaba. Welcome to Issues at Hand.
Thank you so much.
You are very welcome. So let's start by understanding, because when it comes to awareness, if without understanding, and that's a problem. Ignorance brings a lot of myths, a lot of misconceptions. So we want to get those misconceptions out of the way, especially for some of the cultural norms that are not beneficial and are dangerous, especially when it comes to persons living with albinism. So let's first start by understanding what exactly is albinism.
Okay, thank you so much. Dear viewers, good morning. Yes, earlier invited, introduced. My name is Nantaba Phiona. I work with an organization called Albinism Umbrella. And thank you so much for that question. Indeed, people have different definitions to what albinism is. Albinism is a genetic condition that is inherited by both parents, the mother and the father. And this majorly affects the skin. That's why you see all the different skin. And then the hair and the eyes. Basically, we also have two types of albinism. There's one called, there's one like mine, and then there's someone you may find is like brown, brown, but then the hair is like a burnt bread, something of that sort. And when you look at albinism, it's this is a condition that is is misinterpreted because of the myths and misconceptions that people have around it. Thank you so much.
And what are some of those myths and misconceptions?
Okay, some of the myths that people have around albinism, people think that persons with albinism do not die, which is not true. Persons with albinism are human, are living things. And when you talk about living things die. So that is not true. And then people think that persons with albinism do not produce. As earlier said, that we are living things, we do produce. And then people have this other thing that when I get any part of a person with albinism, it is going to give me wealth. That is when you find that some of the people have ended up getting our body parts, taking them into witchcraft. And I don't know if there is someone who can come up and say that I got wealth when I got a body part of a person with albinism.
Oh, all right. Mr. Paul, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, persons with albinism, I could say there are a lot of myths. You know, different cultures. There is a way they handle and talk about persons with albinism. When you come to the north, they don't, some of the myths, they don't consider them as human beings. Actually, they consider them as ghosts. They consider us as ghosts. And you find that I was in the north for quite some time, and I happened to be down deep in those villages. You find that some of them are chained, you know, and some of them are isolated, some of them are hidden, just because of those myths that people are having. There are a lot of myths for sure. I cannot, at one moment yesterday, I would just say, yesterday I was waiting for a taxi, and I got shocked. I didn't get hurt, but I got shocked. Someone was like, "Are you a human being?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm a human being. Can I just touch you and I feel, and I confirm that you're really a human being?" So you find that someone grows up, this person is educated, this person is well versed with humanity and the composition of humanity, but you find that they still consider as inhuman. At least they want to confirm, they want to touch and they confirm. So if you look at a lot of myths, despite the fact that there might be awareness, but you find that culture in relation to myths, it's wide and affecting in terms of persons with albinism and how they are treated in communities.
Yes, and we'll talk later on about how the challenges that persons living with albinism face. But even before we get into that, the albinism umbrella. Tell us about that. What does the albinism umbrella do? And what is the mandate of the albinism umbrella?
Sure. Oh, the albinism umbrella. We as Albinism Umbrella, first of all, our main aim is to create awareness, to ensure that people know who we are, people understand us, so that we kill the myth that is around albinism. Earlier on, people never knew about albinism. Actually, people never thought that albinism is a disability. People considered albinism as something else, unhuman. So we as Albinism Umbrella, we come out to create awareness in communities where we live, that we are also human beings and we can actually perform to the standards of any other human being. Secondly, we advocate for the rights of persons with albinism. One of the crucial rights that is often abused is the right to life. We as persons living with albinism, we have a right to life. Unfortunately, right from the birth step, you find that in most communities, persons with albinism are denied that right to life. Even in the communities where we stay, they feel that persons with albinism, they are not meant to live. They are meant to, to be somewhere. It is an omen, even in some communities, to produce someone with albinism. So, we as Albinism Umbrella, we took it up upon us to fight for the rights of persons with albinism. Secondly, we look at helping our brothers and sisters. It's living with albinism. I could say, I could rate like 95%. You can move around the country looking for a sunscreen, a real sunscreen, for applying on the skin, and you don't get any. Why? Because these things are very rare in Uganda. I personally used, before I got into meet Albinism Umbrella, I used to buy a sunscreen, a small tin for Nivea or sunscreen. I used to buy it at 70,000. And yet that is my daily, it's like a day, it's like medicine to me. Actually, it's medicine. I can't live a day without it. I have to apply it on a daily basis. Not only on a daily basis, but I have to apply it on almost an hourly basis every day. So, we as Albinism Umbrella, we took it upon us to at least try assist our brothers and sisters there who may not be knowing where to get these sunscreens, who may not be able to get the capes, who may not be able to get the long sleeve clothes, so that at least we can solicit the support and we offer to them. We also took it upon ourselves to look at the policies, mostly the healthy policies that are in line with persons with albinism. You find that our major problem is skin cancer because we are affected by the sun. So you find that in Uganda we have one cancer institute, and we are diverse. You find that in Soro, you find in Chegegwa, you find in Iganga, in Jinja, there are very many persons with albinism. So we go to these policymakers, and we try to adjust. We try to connect on the same table, and we say, look here, there isn't enough support, health support for persons with albinism in terms of skin cancer. We talk about the vision. You have a visual impairment. In most cases, albinism comes with a visual impairment. I myself, and specs don't do much. Specs are just aids. They help us to aid us in reading and in viewing, but they don't correct that. And at least it is advisable at least once in a year for a person living with albinism to go for an eye checkup. We have only one center that oftenly deals with persons with albinism. That is the Low Vision Center in Mengo. And yet, they are diverse. There are very many persons with albinism in other regions, and we question on that. What's the government doing with other hospital facilities? At least putting that center that caters for the low vision in terms of persons with albinism. Generally, I can say there are very many things that we Albinism Umbrella touch and help and deal in, but we mainly help out with persons with albinism in terms of providing our service to.
And what are some of the activities that Albinism Umbrella carries out in supporting persons living with albinism?
Yes, some of the activities. One, we do baseline assessment and rapid surveys, knowing our statistics. We reach down to the root to try to identify these persons with albinism in those communities. They hide them. Some parents hide these persons with albinism, and you find that they are not seen. So we try to go down and we look at these persons with albinism and know them, know their condition, knowing where they stay. Second, we do what we call community scorecard. We go to healthy centers. The reason as to why we do this is to look at the services, not only persons with albinism, but generally persons with disabilities. How are they receiving services on various healthy centers? And so far we have gone to 4 districts. That is Kamuli. We have been in Hoima. We have been in Lira. We have also been in Buyukwe. Yes, in Buyukwe. So we have done this community scorecard looking at the healthy needs of persons with albinism in a large or a wider picture, persons with disabilities. We also look at we also do supplying of sunscreens at a free cost. Yes, we go to the downer part, the downer roots of where people do not reach. Yes, communities, and we deliver these sunscreens to to the individuals with living with albinism. We also do sensitization, mass sensitization, as of course right now we are doing the sensitization to our viewers about albinism, and we go down to the communities because one major problem is awareness. If, based on the example I gave about myself, if a lady like that, educated, because we never communicated in Uganda, we communicated in English. If such a lady, I believe she's educated, can make such a statement, that means there is a lot of ignorance. There is a lot of myths around albinism. So we as Albinism Umbrella, we take it upon us to go down to the community and sensitize, teach people about what is albinism. Furthermore, we help in our brothers and sisters to attain treatment in terms of support, the eye treatment, getting them specs, and helping them attain the skin cancer treatments, the chemotherapies, because you find down there in the villages, there are very many persons with albinism facing skin cancer, and to us it is very easy to get skin cancer because when that sun exposes itself on your body like this without a sunscreen, those are higher risks of skin cancer. So we get those persons with albinism wherever they are, according to the information we get. When we manage to get the information like this in our hands, we act upon it, and we partner with Ministry of Health. At least we try to help out those main cases to transfer, at least to reach the Cancer Institute and attain treatment. Yeah.
We thank God for the good work that Albinism Umbrella is doing.
Amen.
To help support persons living with albinism. And so, on that very same note, your executive director, the executive director of Albinism Umbrella,
yes,
that's Miss Olivia Namute, we had to say this. She said that there needs to be a review of the Witchcraft Act of 1957,
yes,
because the act is outdated and needs to be amended so that those who kill people living with albinism for rituals face harsh punishments. When it comes to the law, do you think there are enough laws to protect persons living with albinism? And if so,
yes,
or if not, what can we do better in terms of law? Is there a particular law, maybe like the Witchcraft Act of 1957, or even another law that can be instituted to help protect persons living with albinism?
yes.
Okay, thank you so much. As earlier you've communicated, this act is really, it is not implemented. That's why, okay, it's outdated. That, remember, as we earlier said, that we have a right to, like, security. We need security for our lives. And this is what has been denied to us because of the different myths that people have around us. So with this act, this is one that really has to be enforced and put into practice in a way that to bring out this understanding that people have towards us, and in one way or the other to educate them. And then when you look at, we had, remember this was a disability that was not recognized, and then there came in place the Disability Act 2020 that brought us up and identified albinism as a disability. And we thank the government of Uganda with that to really enact and allow this be in place. And then, when you look at the other laws that you're talking about, indeed, as you see, the rights that other people have, they're the same laws that they're the same laws and the rights that we require. I can't say that it is this and this, but the Witchcraft Act really needs to be updated and implemented, because when you look at the cases of persons with albinism being kidnapped and then cut off their limbs, it's quite a lot and hurting, because people have lost their lives because of the different like understanding about albinism. Thank you.
When it comes to that, one of the issues with the Witchcraft Act is that it had a lot of loopholes. For instance, on how you can prove that a person actually, in terms of witchcraft, like someone actually bewitched someone. And that's one of the reasons why, like I said, it's still outdated. But would you like to see a specific act, even outside provisions of the Witchcraft Act, a specific act that talks about the rights of persons living with albinism in particular?
That could be could talk of security. There could be a security act, and basically, I know this can come up if we the rights holders have been involved in this, and this will help out to get first-hand information on how we feel about it and how we understand it. So that's when I can say that. Okay, that's when I say if we involved, we can able get the right information to what we really need to be put in place.
But I already hear people saying that there are people who would say, but if unfortunately a person with albinism is killed for a ritual, and that can fall under the purview of the Penal Code Act. And people would then say there's no need to create a new act for that. But what specific would you like in terms of security that makes it different? Because the Penal Code Act outlaws murder, and that's generally for every Ugandan. So in the law, what would you like to see specifically when it comes to security, especially for persons living with albinism?
Just maybe what I can say on that, it is, we may not actually, we as I may say, we are human like others. And maybe I can say we may not need a different act, maybe just to say, but then we may just have to, like, to bring it clearly on the different acts that people have. You know, at times, when you see a person who is not having albinism being murdered, it may be on someone is maybe want, but then when you look at a person with albinism being murdered, it is in relation to something, like it is attached to something else. Let me say, if I'm murdered, it is because someone is in mind may think he's going to take my body part to have wealth. But then when you look at a person who is not having albinism being murdered, I don't think someone may murder a person who is not having albinism on grounds of having wealth. But then when you look at us, it is just making it clear to bring out this understanding about us and maybe demystifying the myths that are around albinism.
Definitely. Do you have anything to add to that, Mr. Paul?
Yeah, actually, the fact that is we persons with albinism, we are a vulnerable community, and the way the community looks at us is quite a little bit different. So, in terms of acts and laws, I feel it may not necessarily be a creation of a new act or a creation of a new law, but the fact that we are a vulnerable community, at least they should put an extra eye on an implementation and amendment. They should at least look at the punishments, because the fact that we are being looked at as a ritual sacrifice may literally be a little bit different, because when you look at when a person is going to sacrifice a person with albinism, definitely you know that they are looking at that person as a ritual sacrifice. So I feel the government should really look at the punishment, the issue of punishments for the culprits in sacrificing persons with albinism, with at least a closer eye. Yes, there are punishments according to the laws. and various acts on security. But then, the fact that we are a vulnerable community, at least that should be considered with an extra eye.
Now, when it comes to the issue of raising awareness, it's very crucial because, to quote once again Ms. Olivia Namutebi, the Executive Director of Albinism Umbrella, she said that people living with albinism, some people that is, do not know why they were born that way. They need to be sensitized to know their rights. And so it's not just the greater public, that's in terms of persons who are not living with albinism, but even persons living with albinism need to be sensitized when it comes to their rights. And that is why government has launched what we call the National Action Plan for Persons Living with Albinism, and this was launched by Vice President Ms. Jessica Lupo during the commemoration of the International Day of Persons with Disabilities, and this was launched in Kole District. And one of the reasons, one of the key focuses that this action plan will institute is the focus of promoting awareness about the rights, the human rights, especially of persons living with albinism. So, number one, what do you think about this national action plan?
Okay, the national action plan is a plan that we really look at because it entails a lot. And these are the rights that we really need. For example, inclusion. Remember, we are not, in one or the other, rights holders are not included whenever laws are put in place. And I thank the government that when this act was put in place, we, the rights holders, were involved in developing it. And then it also looks at the participation. Participation in the different spaces. So like this, I'm here to speak about albinism myself. So how do you see that a person who is not having albinism talking on my behalf? You cannot bring out the feel or the pain that I have at heart than I speak about it myself. And then yes, it also talks about awareness raising because of the different taking of the different things that people have towards albinism. This plan is also having different activities that are going to be put in place to see that we carry out awareness. And then yes, we also look at the interdependence. I can stand like interdependence being me. I can do something. A person with albinism can do something interdependently. And then yes,
things like education, employment, very important.
Yes, and when you look at also that, yes, that's why you find that people or employers are really finding it hard to employ persons with albinism because they think our needs are many, which is not the case. And as my colleague talked about the site, it's just that give me a bigger screen, I'll be able to what? Like to perform. Yes. And that's why I'll also call upon employers out there that maybe are afraid of employing persons with albinism. Because you may find there are many persons with albinism who have qualifications for different jobs. But then, because of the different understanding and maybe take about albinism, people are ending up not giving them like opportunities. And when you look at that, this plan is also looking at opportunities, like equal opportunities and treatment for all. Because I said we are all human beings, we are required to be treated the same. So when you look at this plan, it really entails of a lot that we really need to, it is just a plan that has been developed, but then it is going to be implemented. That's calling for support from different departments to see that this plan is implemented, and maybe having persons with albinism like live a dignified life like any other person.
Wow. And what provisions stand out the most for you when it comes to the National Action Plan?
Of course, as earlier said, the ignorance is also too much from persons with albinism and those that don't have albinism, that stands out for me most. Awareness raising. Then maybe if I rank 2, it will be inclusion and participation. And then the equal opportunities for all.
Equal opportunities for all. Yes, Mr. Paul.
Yes. To me, I would like to talk something about this action plan. One, I got me as an NVIDIA, I got more interested in awareness. Awareness, everything we are seeing about albinism, every results we are seeing about albinism is because there are very many people out there who aren't aware of albinism. So I feel this action plan will do more in awareness, creating awareness out there in the community that, you know what, persons with albinism are human. They can live on and they can, you know, contribute to the development of the community. I would also look at education. There is a sector in education. It is being catered for in this action plan. There is a lot of there are a lot of schools and a lot of education institutions out there that don't absorb persons with albinism, and this has brought a lot of increase in illiteracy in persons with albinism. So I call upon not only the school institutions, but I also call upon the parents to always endeavor to educate these people with albinism, so that at least they can, you know, they can be of benefit to the society. I also look at equity, equality and equity. The action plan talks about equal opportunities, you know, but I would say I want to tell the public that equity, there is equity and equality. As we provide equal opportunities, we should consider equity. When we are doing an exam and you are doing it with a person with albinism, you can't provide the font, the small font, and all through you get. Yes, that is what we call equality, but then you have not provided equity, because there is a person with albinism with a poor sight. So as we do this to all employers, as my colleague earlier on said, in terms of employment and even in education sector, as you are employing, at least providing equality and equity, you want good results from a person with albinism, at least you know that there is need of him or her having a wider monitor in order for him or her to view the work that is doing. At least that is equity. You are providing equality and at the same time equity. Yeah, I was.
Yes.
And maybe just to add on, when you look at this plan, it's maybe I can give an example. During the dissemination phase of this plan, we really tried to disseminate it on the regional level, where we involved persons with albinism, and then the national level. So with the disseminations for the rights holder, that is the regional level, this plan also looks at the self-advocacy. That if a person with albinism is aware of his or her rights, he or she can advocate for her rights. So it brings up that institute of self-advocacy and self-awareness, and also looks at being non-discriminative in all spheres of life. Because like in the communities where we stay, you look at people have different names that they give persons with albinism in relation to the different cultures. But then that's why we add on and say that when we maybe train person with albinism something called self-acceptance, self-awareness, self-advocacy, this is a tool that also adds up to see that they can stand and advocate for themselves and be like champions and maybe ambassadors within their communities where they're discriminated.
Wow, this is very good indeed, and it's good to see that this national action plan is in existence as we look forward to bringing this country to a point where the rights of persons living with albinism are protected and enforced. Now, the discussion continues here on Issues at Hand. Don't go anywhere because we have so much more to talk about from the national action plan and the challenges that persons living with albinism face and how these challenges are being tackled, and also how we as members of society, especially persons who are not living with albinism, can do in order to tackle these challenges. So don't go anywhere. There are other measures that can be put in place to ensure that the rights of persons living with albinism are enforced. But two, as members of the society, Ugandans, fellow citizens, our brothers and sisters, what can we do to also enforce and protect the rights of persons living with albinism? But first, the challenges. What other challenges do persons living with albinism face?
Persons with albinism face quite a number of challenges in the different spaces, and maybe just to start with the eye, with a visual challenge. Yeah, persons with albinism have challenges with the sight, that I cannot see far. Though when you find that this comes in from an angle that there are some societies or some individuals who are persons with albinism, our sight vary, that some can see a little far and others cannot, but then it cannot be as perfect as someone who is not having albinism. So that major challenge of the sight, and maybe what we look at solving this is having the bigger fonts. Bigger fonts, I don't mean font 12. Maybe to me, I mean font 14. Because that's what I feel is good for me. And then the bigger screens. And then maybe another challenge that persons with albinism still face is the skin. Like the skin challenge. Where my colleague talked about being in the sun for longer times exposes me to skin cancer. And skin cancer is something that I know viewers all know, that skin cancer is something that is like hard to treat. If all in all goes wrong, that's when you find that someone is going to lose life. So skin is a major challenge that without a sunscreen with me, it is always hard, and I advise fellow persons with albinism not to be in the sun for a longer period of time. And then and the other standing issue, and actually we maybe just to take you back, we carried out a rapid assessment in Kampala and Wakiso. This was supported by our partner, Aga Khan Foundation. We did this to identify persons with albinism within Kampala and Wakiso. And unfortunately, I know colleagues colleagues viewing cannot even think that people in Kampala and Wakiso can be poor, or can even fail to get what to eat on a basis. But then this also stood out that persons with albinism in Kampala and in Wakiso are poor, like the poverty lines or levels are too high. Not only in Kampala, but most of persons with albinism come from very poor families that cannot even afford to get what to eat. So looking at that, I cannot even afford the basic needs of life for myself. This being a challenge, because when you see that, that's why we say that because of how you treat us, you may find that I may want to go to school, but then how my fellow students treat me without the school administration maybe taking action, I may end up dropping out of school. Hence, the illiteracy levels also going high, that I do not have any skill to do or anything to go in the a formal sector to have a job to do, that I'm going to end up maybe doing these small businesses, but you know that small businesses that really do like work out is like street businesses, of which I'm supposed to go to be under the sun. And that's why I walk around Kampala several times. Whenever I try to identify a person with albinism, I get so much touched. I don't know how viewers do it, but then I get so much touched that even me, a person with albinism, having a street business, someone may end up even not supporting. However much I may need what this person has, I may not support. So poverty also stands out as a challenge among persons with albinism. And then the discrimination and stigma. This has always been enforced by the community. How you treat us really puts us down, that we lose our confidence to do some stuff, that even like to lose the esteem, to do something for ourselves. So discrimination is also something that is really a challenge to our community, the albinism community. Thus putting us down to, and also limiting the participation in the different activities within our communities. And then, yeah, maybe my colleague can also add on that.
Yes, the challenges with persons with albinism, actually what we are giving here is the major challenges. I would like to inform the viewers that we as persons with albinism, we equally share the same challenges that any other human being can face. The only difference is we have an extra challenge. It is doubled, it is amplified. The fact that we are having albinism, I would like to echo about there is a lot of risk in life, security, a challenge in security. At one moment I was sharing with one of my fellow person with albinism, and it was like, me, I cannot freely walk around. Like, I was like, don't get me a matchbox at the shop. No, I cannot walk. I cannot go there. What if I'm kidnapped? What if I'm taken up? So you find that there is a challenge in security. There is a very great gap between the security rights and the persons with albinism. I would say most of the challenges we know that we as human beings we face. We also do face those challenges. The health challenges, accessing hospital services, it's a challenge. The only difference is there is a bit of amplifying. If someone black finds a challenge in employment, then me, a person with albinism, I even have a reason for it. If a person who is black may not have a reason, maybe maybe papers, but for me, a person with albinism, even though I have papers, there is still a reason as why I shouldn't be employed. So looking at all that, we really face a lot of it, which is amplified actually.
So, in your honest opinion, do you think this National Action Plan adequately addresses these challenges?
Yes, surely. This action plan handles almost everything. I could say almost. Actually, it handles all the spaces. Because we see the education is in this. The health sector has also been talked about. And even the community, the laws, the legal sector, the judiciary, it has also been talked about here. So if the action plan, disseminating it and making it well known to various sectors, the non-government sectors, the government itself, it's actually good, very good, because each one has his own share in the action plan. We also call the partners, the government side, the private side, and international partners that can help out in disseminating and implementing this plan to really get a copy. We have an online copy, and look at it, and they look at their spaces. At least each space has been indicated.
Okay, wonderful. And so the government is doing their part. They've come up with a national action plan,
Yes.
and they are really they're coming up with laws, and they're trying as best as they can
Yes.
to ensure that the rights of persons living with albinism are enforced. But now, tell us, as members of society, as Ugandans, as viewers, as family members, what would you like to see us do when it comes to protecting the rights of persons living with albinism?
Yes, I would start by appreciating the government. I really appreciate the government for the efforts it has done towards the persons living with albinism. And I call upon for more improvement and more follow-ups on the implementations and all the policies in line with persons with albinism. Back to the community, I really call upon the community to, first of all, look at us as human beings. At least try to look at us as people who can really add something to the community, people who can really develop the community. Because if that's not the case, if people don't look at us as people, as human beings, then I can say there is nothing we can do. If you don't look at us as people who are real, or who are human beings and who can really implement something in this society, then even the action plan, we are just waiting for nothing. So starting from the grassroots, the community, changing the values, their values, changing their norms, modifying them and starting to consider us as human beings, it's a very crucial thing to us persons living with albinism. Secondly, at least a neighbor should inform a neighbor. That community sensitization and community awareness. Don't look at someone, mistreating a person with albinism and you just look on. It's a duty of me and you to coordinate. This is a thing of helping one another in a situation. We as Albinism Umbrella, we are very small for such a very big country, but the community is our hands, they are our legs, they are our brains down there. When you are down as a community, you as a community member, you as a community and the society, we really call upon you to to understand us. First of all, to understand us, look at us as human beings, understand our needs, and try to, embrace us, comfort us, because that is the essence of everything in the community. Maybe my colleague can add on that.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Yeah, and I'll not differ much about what he has said, but then this can be, and I cannot advocate for myself alone. But then if I'm joined with a community that really the community and maybe someone who can be an ambassador for albinism, that can also, it should be a voice for all. That when we come up as a community or as all, that's when we can uplift our voices to be heard. So maybe my call upon, my ask to the community is just to be ambassadors for albinism. Whenever you're called upon to do something, please speak about albinism. You're already carrying out awareness. And we should always learn to maybe talk about the different myths that people may think about us. And then advocate for what is right. Demystify these myths. And then maybe we shall also see a society that we can all engage and maybe associate as one.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Miss Fiona and Mr. Paul, for taking us through that very pivotal discussion. And it's important that we remember what has been talked about today, please. The thing is, we are all championing the rights of persons living with albinism. Like Ms. Fiona said, one voice will see their rights being enforced because they are our brothers and our sisters. They are human beings just like all of us and the rest of us. So it's pivotal that we champion their rights together. And it's pivotal that we remember that the Bible says we must love our neighbors as we love ourselves. So let us display some love right there and fight for the rights of persons living with albinism. Thank you for joining us on Issues at Hand today. We return tomorrow. For now, it's time for our coffee break. God richly bless you.